Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in and checking out the video. Now, today's video is going to be talking about the matchup between Sergey Kovalev versus Jean Pascal. I will be attending this fight live, so I'm very excited for this event to go down. I'm liking the undercard, and HBO has picked this up, I believe, and also Sky Sports in the UK has picked this up. So, good night of boxing on the March 14th weekend. You don't want to miss some of these fights, and we get an intriguing light heavyweight matchup between Jean Pascal and Sergey Kovalev. Now, when I look at the fight, Sergey Kovalev coming into this matchup had the biggest win of his career against the legendary Bernard Hopkins. And Kovalev threw a lot of punches in that fight. He outclassed Bernard Hopkins, and he showed that he can box on the outside. Was a new aspect of his game that we haven't seen too much of, but he looked excellent in that fight, and he brings in a ton of amateur experience. Love his jab to the body. He's got power in both hands, and he's a very exciting fighter, very fan-friendly style. So Sergey Kovalev, another one of these guys coming from Russia, dominating the sport of boxing right now, and he's got Adonis Stevenson shook. So moving on, let me talk about Jean Pascal. Jean Pascal is a guy who I believe in this fight is a more athletic fighter. He has the advantage of going up against better competition throughout his career. And also, when you look at Jean Pascal, you see a guy who is explosive at times. I like his right hand. He does some damage in fights. Also, he's a guy willing to take on the best fighters. And you see him show heart in many of his fights. I still remember that fight. He fought some trippy guy. I don't remember his name. And he popped his shoulder out and basically was fighting with one arm. And he ended up winning that fight. So that goes to the type of heart that Jean Pascal possesses. And I really like the matchup. Also, Roy Jones is in the camp now, working with Pascal. So this is something to definitely watch out for. And I think since Roy Jones has come in, I've seen some improvements in Pascal's game. I really liked in his fight with Boutte. His balance was a lot better than in the past. Sometimes if you've seen Jean Pascal fight, he was throwing wild punches completely off balance. So that was something right away I noticed that Roy Jones and company cleaned up. Now, I look for them to improve more of Jean Pascal's game. One of his biggest issues is his lack of stamina. You've seen him in the championship rounds where he has issues later in fights where he's not active, and that is something he's going to need to change if he has any chance in this fight against Sergey Kovalev. Now, another thing I like to see them change in Jean Pascal's game is he's a little reckless at times. He'll throw wild shots and he'll miss a lot of shots, will make him tired. So if he tightens that up, definitely will be an interesting fight. But Pascal, I have a lot of respect for him as a fighter, and same with Sergey Kovalev, which is why I'm looking forward to the fight. Now, what Pascal needs to do to win this fight, in my opinion, he's going to have to jump on Sergey Kovalev early because he's not good in the late rounds. So I think he needs to come out and be extremely active, gain the respect of Sergey Kovalev, use his jab, move around a bit, land that right hand. Kovalev has been down in his career, and Pascal does have pretty good power, not to the same level as Kovalev. But yeah, that's definitely something I think he needs to implement in his game. He's got to be active throughout the fight, and if his stamina is not there in this matchup, he's going to get hurt in the later rounds. Also, look for he has a history of injury, Jean Pascal does, so that's something that you definitely do not want to see in this fight. If he gets hurt against Sergey Kovalev, a shoulder injury, an arm injury, anything like that, that's going to be devastating for him. But ultimately, my pick for this fight, guys, I think that Sergey Kovalev wins this fight by a unanimous decision, but I think Jean Pascal is going to be very game early on for the first 4 or 5 rounds. And then I believe Kovalev will take over in the second half of the fight. Let me know what you guys think. Good matchup. We'll see what Roy Jones has in mind for this fight, any weaknesses he sees in Sergey Kovalev that he can implement in Jean Pascal. And Pascal is an athletic fighter, so he can definitely pick up some things. And overall, though, Sergey Kovalev, just in my opinion, a much better boxer. Also hits a lot harder. And he's a guy who I believe has a better cardio tank than Jean Pascal, even though we haven't seen Kovalev go the distance very many times in his career. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning into the video. Please let me know your thoughts, and thanks.